Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at how you can use a couple of key factors, and we're going to be talking about the accuracy factor and the top four factor, along with some handicapping buttons, and just show you how you can throw all that together in BetPad and come up with a very accurate way to handicap a race. So if you got this email earlier, we talked about what the top four factor means and what the accuracy factor means. And just to recap, the top four is looking at what percentage of the time, and right here this, the top ranked factor for this race overall is average of last three late pace, and that has a score of 69, which means 69% of the time in the previous races one of the top four horses for average of last three late pace won. So if you just looked at these four horses, you had a 69% chance of finding the winner in the previous races. Well, that's not the best accuracy, or I'm sorry, the best top four factor for the race type. To get the top one, you need to sort the column. So let's go ahead and sort that. You click it once, it sorts it from worst to best, and so we'll click it again. We want the highest one on top. So this has a very high, a 94 is a very high number. Usually, 80s, low 80s is really good, but when you see one in the 90s, that's an excellent factor. So this means that 94% of the time in the previous similar races, horses that were ranked 1, 2, 3, or 4 in average of last three race classes won the race. One of those horses won the race. So going on that assumption, we've pretty much said, well, we've got a 94% chance of finding the winner using one of these four horses. The other factor we talked about was accuracy, and to do the same thing over here, you would sort these by accuracy. You want the highest one on top, and the accuracy score is different from the top four score. It's not a percentage. It's a score using a formula that says how often does this factor get the top four horses in the exact right order, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so, a score of 100 would mean that it always gets the top four in the exact right order, and you'll never see that because it's just not, it's not possible. You may see that on a race that has a one race sample where one factor did, but when you look at a race that has multiple races, there's never going to be one factor that is always able to predict things in 1, 2, 3, 4 order. If there was, we'd all be hitting superfectas in every race. But using that in conjunction with another factor, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Of course, you can say, all right, well, the best top four factor is average last three race classes, and I can go over here and I can use that factor in a mix by turning it on and giving, just using this slider over here. Let me hit clear and reset all that. So I can use that average last three race classes, and then I can go over here and say, well, let me use the accuracy factor too, which the top one in this case happens to be best speed on turf. So I'd come up here and I could turn that on. So now I've got those two factors being used because they both have values, and then I could weight them. I could give one more weight than the other and kind of see where the things ended up being ranked. But for this handicapping method, we're talking about a very quick way to do it, and also teach you a little bit how to use the bet pad. I think a lot of people are using it, and a lot of people aren't, and maybe it's just because they don't understand how quickly and easy you can combine things using the bet pad. So just to familiarize you again or reacquaint you with BetPad, it's right here, it's underneath the rankings, and if you click that little down arrow, it opens up for you. You can open it and close it and do all sorts of things like that. So let's say we wanted to use this top four factor, which is average last three race classes. Now I've got the BetPad open. All I have to do is click on the factor name, and you can see I get a little message that says added to BetPad, and what it does is it's saying, all right, use that factor. So it's added the top six horses, not just the top four, but the top six horses to BetPad, and it's also put in here that that's average last three race classes. So now I've got that factor added to the BetPad, and now I want to say, all right, what's the highest accuracy factor, and that's the best speed on turf. So I'll click that, and it's added now. So now we've got these two factors added to our BetPad. And individually, you can see the horses 6, 4, 8, 2, 3, 1, and then for best speed on turf 2, 3, 8, 4, 6, 1. But down here at the bottom, it's combined those, and it's saying the consensus ranking using those two is 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 1. Now, one thing we didn't do is we didn't look at this race to find out scratches. So let's the 7 horse here was scratched, and so you could click there and remove it. And now you see that he was here, and now there's a blank spot there. So let me clear that and just add it back in, and now it's that scratched horse has been replaced. It's moved the next one up in line. So we have these two factors added. Now this method that's a very good way to handicap and a very quick way to handicap is using 4 factors, or actually 2 factors and 2 mixes. So you can combine factors and mixes in BetPad. So we've clicked these factors and we've added them by clicking them here. But how do you add a mix? You could do that in several different ways. Some of these are pre-programmed mixes up here, and so in this method we're going to use 2 of the results of these buttons. So if I click on long shot up here, now it's ranked the horses based on what it considers to be the best horses from a long shot perspective. And the way that long shot button gets its mix or its formula is it looks at factors that have the highest win ROI. So looking at again at this race type and doing that same kind of sorting thing that we did over here, we're seeing that the highest win ROI factor is average earnings at today's track. If you blindly bet the top ranked horse in every single previous race, you would have had a profit of 71.80, and that's on the win. And so it combines the top ranked ROI factors, the long shot button does, and you can see over here that it's used best speed fast track, average of the last 3 E2 pace, jockey current year. It's used a handful of them, and the computers determine that, well, these are all high ranking ROI factors, and when you combine them together you're getting a better overall ROI number than what it's any single factor is using. Sometimes it'll be a single factor that the computer says is the best to use. Other times it'll be 3 or 4. It's just a combination of those high ROI factors together is what's underlying the underlying formula for these buttons. And there's 2 of them that are done that way: long shot and hit the board. So now we said, all right, we've clicked on long shot and we see the rankings for long shot. Now how do I add that to BetPad? Well, that's very simple. Again, you just click this button right here that says add current rankings to BetPad. So whatever you've done, whether you've mixed it up over here with sliders, or you've selected one of your save mixes, or whatever the case may be, whatever's ranked up here is going to be added to BetPad when you click this add to current rankings to BetPad button. So now you see that 638592 and up here 638592. So now it's added those to the BetPad, and now our consensus ranking is looking at 3 things here, and I can go ahead and type what that was, long shot button, and now I know what that is and how the consensus rankings are stacked up. And finally, the one I like to look at on this basically 2 mix 2 factor quick handicapping method is hit the board. So again, I'll click on hit the board, and it's going to rank the horses based not on win ROI, but it's looking at the horse that's most likely to hit the board based on high show percentage factors. So the highest show percentage factor is last E1 pace. 75% of the time, the horse that's ranked highest in last E1 pace is going to hit the board for this race type, where it has in the past. So if you go over here and you look at the factors that it's used, the computers looked at all these and it said, you know what, there's only 2 factors that you can use in combination, and here's the weighting: 50 on last E1 pace and 58 on average of last 3 E1 pace. And when I combine those together, I'm going to end up with a number that's higher than 75%, and it's ranked them this way. So then once again we'll say, all right, we're going to use that, add it to BetPad by clicking this button here, and I'll go ahead and give that a name so I can know what it was. So I've got 4 things here. I've got 2 single factors: average last 3 race classes and average of last 3 late pace. And I found those by sorting over here and clicking, and when I click it, it adds it to BetPad. And up here I've clicked these buttons, hit the board and long shot, and then I've clicked to add those results here. So now I've got 4 different ways of looking at this race. 2 of them are based on single factors, and 2 of them are based on computer generated mixes. And at the bottom we have that consensus ranking with a little point score here. So it's very closely ranked. You can see that the 6 has 15 points, the 3 has 14, the 4 has 14, the 12 has 5, and then it kind of drops off a little bit with the 5 and the 8. But these are the horses using those four ways of looking at it that you can come up with a very quick way to handicap this race. So, the results were 6-2-5, and you see that it came in 6-3, or we had it ranked 6-3-4-2-5. The fourth place horse was actually the 8, who was ranked 6 in this. So, that's a 6-horse. Had the superfecta with 6 horses. But the key here is to say, all right, well, from a consensus kind of look at this race, we like the 6, or using these things, which I think are extremely important, especially if they've got a high number here. Top 4, 94% chance that it was one of these 4 horses. And looking at the race with a couple of other rankings based on hitting the board, long shot being high ROI, and the accuracy, we get the 6 on top. Of course, the 6 did win this race, paid $15. But we also had some other horses here that made a lot of sense to use in exactas and trifectas and superfectas. And so this would be our key horse, the 6, and then these 5 horses underneath it, 3, 4, 2, 5, and 8. You could have come up with a nice exacta, trifecta, and superfecta. So it's a real simple way to kind of do this. You'll get very, very good at it, and it's very fast. So we'll start over. I'll clear all this and show you again how quickly you can come up with that. It's sort them first by top 4. In this case, it's average class 3 race classes. Click the button, it's added. Sort by accuracy, it's best speed on turf. Click the button, it's added. Sometimes when you're doing this, you'll find out that the top 4 factor is also the highest. Top 4 factor is also the highest accuracy factor. And if that's the case, just move down to the next highest accuracy factor, because you don't want to add the same one twice. So we've done that, and we've clicked long shot up here, and we're going to say add current rankings to BetPad, which is this, and then we say hit the board, and then you get your consensus ranking at the bottom. Now there's a lot of ways you can use BetPad, and I'll just talk real quickly about that. Anything that you want to do in bet, let's say you hate this 3 horse for some reason, you can pull that out. You can just click and drag these things, and when you move them off the screen, it's gone. You can also say, well, you know what, I'm going to look at the winning post down here, and the 1 seems to be the best post, so I'm going to add that in. I'm going to give that some consideration. I'm also, maybe I'll say, type up here best post. Let's also say I've got a pretty good eye for horses, and I'm looking at the post parade, and I'm looking at them in the paddock, and I say, wow, that 4 looked really good, and the 6 looked good, and the 2 looked pretty good. So you can create your own row over here. It doesn't have to be based on a button or a mix. It can just be something you visually saw. So you can add any of that kind of stuff to the BetPad on your own, and it's always going to use that down here in the consensus ranking. And so there's people that say, well, I need more rows. That's fine, just keep adding. Click this button here that says add another row. So the point here is that you can use a single factor, you can use a mix, you can use a button, and you can add all that to BetPad. And this is a really quick way to handicap races that is going to give you some very, very good results. And so again, it's a really quick way to do it. Clear. I'm going to clear all rows here, clear all that stuff. Show you to you one more time. However, I use this method to help a couple of people who were a little bit confused about Betmix and having a little bit of a struggle figuring out what to do, and just looking for a simple way to use a lot of the tools we have and come up with a very solid way to handicap the race. And even though this is very simple on the surface, you have to understand that the underlying statistics that you're using are very powerful. So this is looking at all these previous race types, and it's kind of rolled it all up here and said, if you're looking for a winner, it's going to come from 94% of the time, it's going to come from this factor. Add it. Accuracy rating. This is the highest accuracy factor for the race, which means that more often than not, it's going to get the exacta, super, trifecta up here somehow. And this is a lot harder to do than hitting the trifecta or the exacta is a lot harder to do than finding the winner, but we're going to add that factor. And of course, we've just gone up and We like that long shot button, we're going to add that. We like the hit the board button, we're going to add that. So really 4 or 5 clicks, and you've got a excellent way of looking at a race. And we've got a lot of tournament players now, and they're asking us what do you need to do to use Betmix for tournaments? And I say look no further than this top 4 button right here. And when you find a race that's got a very high top 4 factor in it, and you can be very confident that one of these horses is going to win the race. And then it's just a matter of your tournament play strategy. Do you want to find one of these 4 is a favorite, 3 of them are long shots? You need to pick which one you want to use, but it really narrows down your options, and it makes it a very quick way to find a potential winner. One of 4. So there it is in a nutshell. It's a quick way to handicap, and it's also a very accurate and powerful way to handicap because of what's behind it. You're using the horse, you're using a factor that says most likely to win. One of these is most likely to win. This group of horses is most likely to be involved in some sort of exacta, trifecta, or superfecta. This long shot horse, that's the horse that has the characteristics, or has the factor characteristics of a horse that usually pays well to win and has produced profit in the past. So you're using that. And then of course, again, you're reinforcing the accuracy with the hit the board here. So the top ranked hit the board horse is the one that has the best chance of hitting the board based on his statistical profile. So when you add all that together and then roll it up into this consensus ranking down here at the bottom, you've done a lot of work with a few clicks, and you'll have some pretty good success. So try it out, test it, and if you have any questions about this or anything else, let me know. Good luck.